Hello, this is Angela with Progress Permaculture. We are obviously in the car. We're on our way across town because a friend had a maple tree taken out, and we use a wood stove for most of our winter heat. And we are committed to finding free sources of firewood. And so since they were having this tree taken out, they generously offered it to us, and we are on our way to pick up the wood. And this should make up a big chunk of our winter store of firewood. So I thought I would talk a little bit about a couple of aspects of getting free firewood and a couple of things related to building community interdependence and resilience that have to do with, obviously, free fuel. So we are experiencing here in the Pacific Northwest significant rises in the cost of natural gas and electricity. Our home has a gas furnace, and obviously gas is not the most sustainable option for everybody or for the environment long term, but it tends to be more affordable, except that our natural gas prices have gone up 12% this year. So we are constantly looking for more sustainable and alternative and more affordable methods to heat our home. So we put in a wood stove a few years ago. I have a few videos on our little Yodel 602 wood stove you can check out. And for us, it heats our home really well. We don't have a large home. It heats the entire downstairs, and one of our future projects is to put a register in to let the heat move into the upstairs, but that is a bigger project than you would think, and we have not gotten to it yet. We're committed to sourcing our firewood for free. And when you live in an urban area like Portland, free wood is abundant. Folks are constantly having their trees cut down. Trees are constantly being trimmed because they overhang power lines. Trees are aging and becoming too large for the urban space in which they were planted, and so folks are having to remove them. If you are savvy, you can always find free firewood, either on the side of the road or listed on Craigslist or listed on FreeCycle or listed in Buy Nothing. And this is where I wanted to talk a little bit about how it does take some legwork. It does take frequently checking the free pages in order to find those sources of firewood. It does take having friends who know, hey, I have a wood stove and I'm always looking for firewood. Folks will message me on social media and say like, hey, I know you have a wood stove. My neighbor is taking out a tree. Do you want any of the wood? This is a mutually beneficial arrangement, right? Where you need firewood to heat your home, and someone else is having a tree taken out, and it would cost potentially thousands of dollars more to have the tree removal service haul away the wood to the dump, which is usually where it goes. So why not have them save money and you save money and you all share this resource together? It's a really mutually beneficial situation. It is something that supports the concept of social permaculture, where we are building community connections. We are circumventing the capitalist mindset. We are circumventing consumerism. There is no exchange of money, but we're each getting a benefit from the relationship, from the exchange that's occurring. So I actually stumbled across, in reading up a little bit for this video, stumbled across an organization that has a free firewood sharing program that is set up in a rural area that is meant to benefit folks who are of limited income, need to heat their homes, and don't necessarily have access to free firewood, and also folks who need trees cleared off their land. What a wonderful permaculture solution to have a little bit of community involvement, a little bit of organization, a little bit of sharing of those resources, where someone created a system, they created the infrastructure to connect people who need firewood with folks who are willing to volunteer and donate their time to cutting down and perhaps even delivering firewood to folks who can't go pick it up, to connect those two folks with folks who have trees that need to be removed. And that way we are, once again, we are circumventing having to exchange money. We're building community connections. We're building resilience. So for us, having that free source of urban firewood is a great way that we can live out our permaculture ethics. It's a great way that we can reduce waste going to the landfill. It's a great way we can reduce our reliance on paying for fuel, both in terms of needing to use fossil fuels, but also in terms of paying for firewood. We are able to stay within our budget. It feels really good and it feels sustainable. Now, you may live somewhere where there is not an abundance of wood and where wood heat is not as sustainable as it is in the Pacific Northwest. Totally understand that. But also, if you live in an urban area, or even if you live in a rural area, perhaps there are ways that your community could build those infrastructures to help connect folks who need firewood with folks who have an abundance of wood. That would be a good, smart way to use permaculture design to create those resilient systems that help communities as a whole be stronger and individuals within those communities be more financially and resource secure. Okay, so we're here. Let me just run through a few tips for getting free wood. So first off is that you want to dress for the weather, be it rainy or be it sunny. You want to bring gloves as well, because if you're getting coniferous wood, it will likely be sappy, and any of the wood that you're getting has the potential to be quite splintery. So always bring gloves, always wear closed-toed shoes. Do as I say, not as I do. I tend to wear sandals. Bring whatever tools you think are necessary. We bring a maul and an axe. Sometimes I bring wedges as well. I cannot tell you how many times I've shown up at a site only to find out that the logs are absolutely massive, despite the owners saying they could be easily carried out. Large rounds can weigh 200 or 300 pounds and have to be split, so it's important to bring tools. Be aware that a number of folks are not cool with you bringing chainsaws to their property. That's a liability for them and for you. And so a number of places that we have been to, they're like, no chainsaws on the property. If you are offering free wood, that is something to be aware of in America as well, that if someone is coming onto your property with power tools and they injure themselves, you or the homeowner are liable for their injury, and they can take it out of your homeowner's insurance. Also, for me, it's important that I understand the dimensions of my wood stove. So we have a Yodel 602. It is shorter than an average large wood stove because it is a very diminutive stove. So I know that when I'm looking for free wood, I want to make sure that if they're offering bucked logs, that the logs are not too long to fit into my wood stove. It, for me, is just not worth it. There's so much free wood to take wood that's too long and to fit into my stove and then have to cut every piece with a chainsaw. Why not just leave that and somebody else who has a larger wood stove can utilize it? Okay, so you also want to know what the situation is that you're walking into to get this wood. What kind of vehicle do you have to haul it in? We have a minivan, and that means we have a limited amount of space. Yes, I would love to have a truck. That's not in our budget and in our family situation right now. So we can only get as much as we can put in our old minivan with the seats laid down in one round. We also are really cognizant of the fact that sometimes it's way in the back of their property, and I tend to ask like, hey, how far of a walk is it to the street? The place we're going to right now has a ton of stairs. We're going to have to carry every piece of wood down 2.5 flights of stairs because they have a steep yard to get it back to the car. I thought I would show you the walk that we had to take every time we went and retrieved a load of wood and brought it back to the car. So we took 2 minivan loads worth of wood on this trip, and that meant I did 44 flights of stairs in the process. Now I also had 2 helpers with me. If they each did 44 flights of stairs, you can see this was quite a leg workout to get this wood out. It also meant we couldn't use a wheelbarrow, and that removing the wood was therefore a much slower process. So know the site that you are going into, what the conditions are, what the access is when you are trying to remove large pieces of wood. So the other thing that I have noticed a number of times is that folks will post, you have to take everything. You have to take all of the wood I put out. That can be a problem. It doesn't feel like good permaculture to me. When we are having a mutually beneficial exchange where I am taking a resource that is a waste product for you that you're trying to get off your property, and I am able to utilize it as fuel on my property, that feels like good permaculture. We are both benefiting. However, if someone says you have to take everything, including these big knotty root pieces and all of these parts that like are not good for you and you can't use, what I'm doing is I'm just foisting my waste product onto somebody else and asking them to get rid of it. I think we need to not view giving away free firewood as I'm helping you out, and therefore you have to help me out by taking away the pieces that I don't want. Someone is already helping you out by taking away the pieces you would have otherwise had to pay somebody to haul away. Or you can just view it as gifting. You can view it as the gift economy. Don't make it a burden for the person that you're offering free wood to say like, you have to take all these scraggly bits that aren't good in a wood stove, that are very hard to split, that are rotten, that you can't use. Don't put your trash onto somebody else. you take care of your own waste in a way that is responsible and that it is utilizing it. But don't put that burden on somebody else that's coming to get free firewood from you for them to have to figure out how to deal with it. Let them take the pieces that they can utilize, bless them in that way. Know that they are helping you out by removing stuff from your property that you can't use, and leave it at that. So I need to get out of the car and start loading up firewood. Well, splitting first and then loading firewood. And I will be back at the end after I do that to touch base with you. Pro tip, if you don't have a lot of mass behind your swing, it's much better to try and nip edges off the round rather than try and split it down the middle. You'll be much more successful. Okie dokie, we've got a full minivan load and we're gonna head back home, kind of cool off. This property had a ton of stairs, so it's probably more like 3 flights of stairs for every log or 2 that we carried down. We got a bunch of it split. We'll have to come back for one more load later to get the rest. But this is again, thinking about making those connections for how folks get rid of their waste products so that other people can use them as a resource is really good permaculture design. When we strive to have a closed loop in permaculture where we produce no waste, we reuse all our waste on site, I would encourage us to think broader than that, more broadly than that, when we are dealing with urban environments, where our closed system is perhaps our whole neighborhood or our whole city, rather than just our own small property. So that here, where we are able to utilize a waste product from somebody else's property and bring it back to our product and have it as fuel, that is still a closed loop because we are keeping everything within the community. We are building community resilience. We are building those community connections. So again, permaculture says we need to have a closed system. We need to produce no waste, expand our notion of what the system is to include our local community. And in that way, we all help circumvent and avoid those consumptive channels and utilize resilient channels that help make us stronger, make our communities stronger. I'll be back soon. Please check out my Patreon down in the description in the meantime. Thanks.